I know this.
Sorry about
All right. I know this is a Q&A, but wanted to just, ask about final touches before I hand over the property.
those sound like questions that's allowed in Q&A. Let's do it.
All right. So typically, do you like normally let the tenant know that you are the owner or no?
I typically do not. Unlike almost all of you, I have one disadvantage. My YouTube channel is not small. They have a habit of finding out because I will post a video at the property and I will get a text from one of the tenants being like, "I found the YouTube channel. My friend saw my building and my whole entire senior living facility. All of them know me and all of them come out with work orders that they have not submitted in their portal." Every time I go down there to the
Oh,
office, they're like, "Oh, we followed the YouTube channel. When are you redoing the parking lot?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Um, if you can avoid that, that is my least favorite part of being a landlord. Anytime I'm on site, I usually just say that I am with property management.
okay. Okay. All
That will
right.
save you potential future frustrated people.
Perfect. And then a follow-up to that is like, this is more related to the renovation is like, how do you typically do it outside first or the inside of the unit first? I think you
There,
talked about this before, but I like
no,
missed it.
great question. A lot of people will say do the outside first because it can be easier to attract people and then do the interior.
Yes.
Ideally, do them both at the same time. If you can't, I have found that if I spend the first part of my budget on the outside of the building and I have units that are not ready to lease, it has zero impact on income because there's no units ready to lease. I like to focus on three things. So my order of operations is this: safety first. I don't want anyone getting hurt on the property. One, ethically. Two, I don't want to get sued. So financially and ethically. Safety first. So if there's bad lighting, let's do that first. If there's a dangerous stair, a loose railing, let's fix all that. Then I go livability. If it needs to be painted and the windows need to be replaced, but the units are completely unturned and there's cat pee in the carpets, I'm going to get the units turned and I'm going to get new flooring in. I'm going to make sure that it is a rentable space so I can start addressing income now. Then I'll do the exterior. So that's how I typically do it is I just put them into categories of is it safety, is it livability, or is this aesthetic? And I'll do them in that order,
Okay.
which usually has you end up doing interiors first, which developers will tell you the opposite, but I have found that to be superior in my portfolio.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Also, congratulations. For those who are just diving in, Ben, tell us a little bit about your deal, where it is, and how many units.
Yes. This is an 8 units multifamily, two-story apartment building. It's in Martinsburg, West Virginia, which is I live in Northern Virginia, so it's about an hour and a half away from me. Um, so it's not too bad of a drive, but I've been working on this deal for probably since last September. Not a seller finance deal. It's a conventional deal, but I have two tranches of debt, which is 80% from the bank, 20% is gap funding. So technically zero money out of pocket. But I
Oh,
plan to
awesome.
fund the renovation myself, so I don't want to borrow for the renovation. But it's
That's
it's 100% occupied. The rent is averaging about 775, and the market rent is 1,000 or more. It's a two-bed, one bath, and the building is 1990 built, so it's not too old, and it's like I said, 100% occupied. So and day cash flowing day one. So
and if you can cash flow day one on 100% debt, that does not suck. It's a really exciting deal. I know you've been working it forever. I'm so excited that's just about to close. Well, I won't say congratulations yet because every time I do that, something happens. So I'm just gonna say, well done getting this far, and we'll congratulate you officially when you close.
thank you.
All right. Next hand up I see is Mark. Mark, good to see you, man. I think there we
Good
go.
to see you. All right. So I've been looking at lots of OMs in the California market, and
Hmm.
insurance seems to be spanning 400 to 1100 a door. Is there always that much spread, or If so, who are typically the best carriers, or is that supermarket specific?
It will be so insurance is the one thing that is unbelievably market specific.
Okay.
There is a lot of spread in California right now, as there is in most West Coast states, because insurance rates are changing so rapidly. So there has been a lot of insurance changes. Quotes vary dramatically. For context, even in Texas, the prior owner for the 76 is paying, it's about 90 a year for insurance, $90,000, which is a lot. Our quote originally came in at 72 and we just got it down to 70 or sorry to 60, I think it's 64. We're paying way less in insurance and we are covered for more. We've got so many different quotes and they ranged all over the board from 100 to 90 to 64. There's a lot of variability right now in insurance. So the name of the game on insurance is just get the quotes because they change so rapidly and they're so market specific. Because a lot of it's environmental. A lot of it, I mean,
Okay. Do you like one broker and let him shop, or do you go to multiple brokers?
I usually go to a few brokers and let them shop, generally speaking, and this is also true for just like real estate brokers too. I generally do this as a rule of thumb. Um, have a big national group, like someone who's a big national group, shop it, and have a local person shop it, and see who does better. There's usually some local mortgage brokers. There's usually some national ones. If you can get a reference from someone else on who they've done to get the best insurance, that is always a good start. For you specifically, since you're looking in Fresno, I will send a text for you right now and get an owner recommendation from someone who owns multifamily in Fresno. So I'll get that
Thank
one
you.
for you.
I appreciate it. And San Diego's my other. So if you know somebody there as well, would love to connect anyway.
Perfect. I will certainly let you know. Of course, my Fresno guy just moved from Southern California to Las Vegas, so he was local to you not too long ago. I'll make the connect though, and I will get the insurance. I'm all 90% done trying to figure out how to text and talk at the same time. I'll
Okay.
get that out to him
Thank
in
you.
a second. But yeah, insurance is the wackiest thing. It's the only thing I can't give everyone like a insert this number per door. It is going to be very market specific. And California, you're better than a lot of states because your state specifically screwed everyone over and put a bunch of laws that cap insurance. So everyone else in the other 49 states has to help supplement California's insurance, which
Thank you all.
is, yeah, I know, right? We're all mad at our good friend Gavin for only hosing the other 49 states.
So when you see in one market, and if I'm spamming questions, just cut me off. I'll get back in
You're
line.
good.
If you see 400 to 1100 just in Fresno, and all of them are middle of the city, not tucked up against dry brush, which would be our threat. The wildfire threat drives it so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Is that lazy owners at 1100 and shopper owners at 400, or I just or lies in the OMs from the brokers, typically bad data?
It's probably a mix of those, but I would guess the really low ones are probably brokers lying in the offering memorandum because that's
Okay.
95% the problems with your numbers are brokers doing a rosy performa and cutting numbers where they can.
Okay.
So
Thank
I
you.
would get real quotes for everything, but you can call any mortgage broker or not mortgage, sorry, let me try that again, insurance broker, and you should be able to get a fairly rough quote of like, hey, I'm just doing my rough numbers here. We're submitting an offer. Give me a ballpark on the high end of what you think we'd be paying for insurance here. And so you can factor that. You have a nice conservative number. They can usually tell you on the phone, we're seeing stuff in this range, estimate here. And so that's the only number that you're going to have to make a phone call for. And their literal job is to quote these. They want to get a quote out because they want the business. So just ask for a soft quote and be like, hey, I'm doing initial numbers. I'm about to submit an offer. We're not even under contract yet. So don't even bother a full write up. Generally speaking, what do you think I should budget for what you're seeing in this area for this size building? And they should be able to tell you.
Okay. And then with 2 stories, so trip and fall risk, what liability do you recommend carrying?
So I generally, on all of my buildings, I'll go with whatever my insurance agent or the bank, if I'm using a bank, requires. But I generally go with full replacement coverage, and for general liability, I generally just have an umbrella policy for anything that happens with any LLC. They're relatively cheap, but I typically put most of the stuff in the umbrella policy for
Okay.
like things that can happen because it costs unbelievably little to insure yourself for like $1 million of stuff. So
Right.
umbrella for all the general, for the property, full replacement.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Which looked really funny for my 76 unit because full replacement came out to $22 million and I'm buying it for 6.4.
Wow. Nice.
There's also a 0% chance that 19 individual brick buildings all burn down at the same time. So it is a low chance that we'll be replacing everything, but very fun projects. The insurance is the only kind of tricky piece of the whole underwrite, but either way, you can get a good conservative number in there with one phone call in any deal. And I
Okay.
just am hitting send on this text now. MNT. Um, just going under contract. And punctuation matters, so I'll make my period a question mark. There we go. I'll let you know what I find and I'll shoot you a text.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. All right, Matthew.
Hey Christian, I just
Hello.
joined the mentorship. I just want to say, just really excited to be here. So, my question would be, if I don't qualify for bank finance, can I still, but the seller wants to do bank financing, can I still do the deal
Mhm.
where I would first go to the bank and ask if they approve it, then I'd find the equity partner to qualify for the bank debt? Is
You're
that
gonna
how
do
it
it.
works?
You're more or less simplified, but essentially, if you don't, and when I started, I didn't qualify for bank debt either. So you're in good company. A lot of us don't. When you are doing the loan application, what I usually do is I get the lender primed and ready to go, and I let them know that I'll be bringing on a capital partner. So I need to bring on a partner who is bankable, who is also going to be a signer on the loan, which generally speaking means that they have at least 20% or more equity in the deal. So I know going in, hey, I'm going to be bringing in a capital partner. They are going to be a signer on the loan. I now get to borrow all of the cool credentials that they have. An awesome example, Caleb and I are partnering on that 76 unit deal. Caleb is doing awesome in real estate, but he does not qualify to independently co-sign or sign for a $5 million loan. He still does not have the net worth. By partnering with me, I do qualify for it. He found the deal. I put together the debt structure. I worked with my legal team, so we both came in and brought our resources together. Caleb has done some amazing things putting this deal together and jumping through hoops to get this really technical deal done, which would be your position on this. Caleb is bankable, but he's not bankable to the point that he could close this deal. His net worth is irrelevant on this deal. With me coming in
So
on
we're
the deal
basically
with
like
him, he
the
now
same.
qualifies and is able to knock it out. So you can borrow the qualifications. You don't have to have them all figured out when you go under contract. You don't have to have it all figured out when you go to the bank, but you need to have it figured out early enough for the bank to do their underwriting process, which once they have all of the docs from everyone, is usually like 2 weeks from all documents in from when they're able to place the loan.
Wait, when you mean by all like figure it out, do you mean by I already have the equity partner found out? Or you mean by,
So they're going to start
sorry,
on multiple pieces of the deal. When a bank is looking at a loan, they're going to need to have the trailing 12 months. They're going to want to see some bank statements, leases. They're going to need to get an inspection, appraisal. Depending on the building, they may or may not want what's called a phase one environmental. It's not very expensive, but it's going to be like $1,000 of the bank's going to ask for a whole bunch of paperwork. You can start that figuring out process while you're finding the partner because you can be getting a lot of this stuff into the bank significantly before close, though. So let's call it 3 weeks or so. You should have the partner completely figured out and how they're funding it. They should be added to the LLC so that when you finish and give the full bank loan application to the bank, they have everything they need, all of the pieces and all of the players that'll be on the loan. So you can't add the last person last minute with a bank. They're going to need everyone they're underwriting before they submit to underwriting for final approval. But when I say figuring out, I mean all of the pieces. The partners, the exact loan product they're giving you, the due diligence, and they're going to ask for a bunch of it. Bank loans are kind of a pain to navigate. That being said, they're completely doable. I do them all the time. If you go with a local bank who's local to the property, you will have a much, much, much easier time 99 out of 100 times going through a small local bank than you will trying to go through a big national bank or a larger regional bank.
Would you say, for a lot of deals on market that has been sitting for, say, like 100, 200 days,
Mhm.
would the seller, especially in the mid-sized multifamily area, would the seller oftentimes be willing to carry a portion of the contract, say like 40%?
You don't know based on the time on market specifically what the seller wants to do. Your likelihood of getting someone who's in a position to be able to do that to actually do that does go up. People do tend to get more creative if they're like, hey, I would love to get cashed out. The deal sits on market for, like you said, we'll call it like 100, like half a year. It's been out there on market for, 3 to 6 months. It's not moving. Your motivation is going to be a lot higher. Like, okay, maybe I can't get all this cash out. How much cash could I get out and can I get my price is usually the next thing they look at, which means, yeah, they might carry some seller financed in second to get their price. So your odds go up for sure. However, it's not guaranteed. They may or may not be in a position to do so. I always just work the deal as if it's going to be conventional bank financed. And once we've gone through all of our questions and I've worked the deal, that's when I'll ask about financing. If you open with financing options early in the call, it's kind of like putting a sticker on your head saying, hi, I have no money, as opposed to actually talking about the deal, negotiating, figuring out what's wrong with the deal, what's kept it on market, what they would do to improve the property, how the bank's going to look at it. Like if you actually work the entire deal, and we do have, I know you're newer, so there is a exact script for this in the course, and I'll also do these live every once in a while. But if you go through that flow, just ask about creative finance last, leave it for the end of the conversation. Work every deal as if you're buying it. You don't worry about the debt until you know about the deal.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. But everyone on this call can work a deal with bank financing. Completely doable. You do not need the experience to do that. You just need to have the deal. If you have the deal, the rest of the pieces work. Jonathan.
Hey, what's up, Christian? I
Hey,
got a
good to see
question
you.
for you. Good to see you too. So I've been mostly sourcing properties off market. I want to expand into the broker land and do that. I live in a high cost area, right? And so everything on Crexy, LoopNet, etc., are like 3 to 5 caps. And there's just nothing, and most of the market rents are already high. There's no movement in that, so there's not a lot of space in that. So I'd have to be coming at these brokers and doing half the price or like going real crazy with the terms to get anything to work on that. So am I just wasting my time going through LoopNet and trying to build these relationships with brokers? Should I just keep on the off-market stuff to try to do the more seller finance and some of the other options? What would you do in like these high-cost areas like Seattle, Portland, those areas?
So in Seattle, I have only done one deal there off market from a broker that I met on a listed property, but it is doable. I've done it before in Seattle specifically. And it was a really good deal. I got a 7 unit. Well, I mean, technically Tukwila, but Seattle market, King County is competitive. Bought in Tukwila, 7 units, half an acre, $1,000,001 purchase price, 3% interest only on a 5-year note with a 3.5% down payment. I mean, just amazing terms. They were referred to me by a broker. I worked directly with the owner. So it was an off-market deal that was referred to me by a broker who was aware of the relationship and passed it to me to work, which was really kind of them. I met that broker on an on-market listing that was maybe 6 blocks away, and it was about a fourplex that was just down the street. That I don't buy that small anymore, but it was a really cool deal, great price. I was working the deal, didn't come together. Actually, one of my friends beat me for the deals, and David Lai bought the property. We came in, bought the 7. The relationships are always worth it, and it takes so little time to just keep an eye on the listings and call the brokers. It's not like in the King County area, as an example, it's not like there's a ton of new multifamily listings that comes up all the time. So if I spent 30 minutes a week calling on some of the new stuff, some of the old stuff, max, probably less than that, 15 minutes, I'm going to have pretty good conversations with most of the players through the course of the year. It just costs a little time. I would keep doing that as well as what you're doing on market. Just I wouldn't spend all your time on it, but
Okay.
yeah, few minutes a week, call on the ones that look interesting to you. Any broker who lists the type of property I want to buy, even if the listing is just offensively too expensive, I like the fact that they are getting the listings for those properties. Probably a relationship worth pursuing.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Love the question. Benz, you're back up.
Yes. Well, I didn't want it to ask all the question that I have. So
Very kind of you. Thank you for spreading them out. Yours are generally pretty quick and concise, so you are allowed to ask multiple at a time, and we'll take them in small batches.
thank you. So the question is, what is the process of going to, I guess, increasing the rent when I know that usually you give like 60 days notice, 30 days notice when you take over the property, right? But
Mhm.
I have essentially leases in place. There's only 2 units that is month to month.
Mhm.
So the only way to really increase the rent here is just, I guess you have to wait for the lease to expire, right?
On a fairly simple project, so eight units is fairly simple. It's not a huge project.
Yeah.
I would look at everything as an 18-month window
Okay.
for all of my leases to cycle, because that's all my 1-year leases. And I'm going to assume that some people don't take the rent bump, and so they're going to move out. I'm going to have to turn the unit, and then I'm going to have to lease it. So on a smaller building, 18 months, it's rare. Occasionally, they'll all move out and not accept the rent bump. It's not usual. Generally speaking, on average, if the rent bump isn't just egregiously high, you're going to have roughly 2/3 of the people will take the rent bump and 1/3 will move out. So if you're rent
Okay.
bumping all 8 units, assume you're going to probably have 2, maybe 3 people not accept it, move out, turn the unit. That's fine. We're going to release it all the way at market.
Okay.
The remaining will accept it. I have had buildings where 100% of people accepted it. I've had one building where 10 out of 12 people all moved out at the same time. It's a bell curve. You can get either extreme. Generally speaking, most of your people will stay and accept a reasonable rent increase, and I'll call reasonable $200 or less. If you get over that, they move out a little bit faster. But that's why I always give that window. You'll just do the rent bumps as the leases come up. You'll give the appropriate notice for whenever that is available.
And for the month to month, what do? You just go in there and you do all the first thing first. You go try to do all the requested maintenance, right? And then
Yes. I don't
too
want to
bad.
create. Yeah, it's quick, but I don't want to create the precedence of, hello, I'm a new owner, rent's going up. Like I do want it to be, hey, we took over. I don't do rent bumps in the first month, and unless I absolutely have to, and all the leases are coming due. If there's almost every time you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
I make sure everyone's logged into whatever portal they're paying rent on. I make sure that we're up to date on all the work orders. So I've sent, I usually have myself, or if I'm using a property manager, the property manager will make sure everything's posted on every door. We've got contact information from every tenant, and everyone is logged into whatever portal that we have. And if they don't, we've called and made sure that they have access to the portal. They understand how it works. So I've really worked to make sure everyone's logged in. I do a second request for work orders. So when I first get all the information to them, they get a notice saying, here's the new PM, here's where and how you're paying rent. This
Okay.
is, I give them the onboarding letter. And
Yep.
with that, I request work orders. I then, about 2 weeks later, make sure that everyone is logged into said portal, everyone is current, and I will do a separate request for work orders again. The precedent that I'm sending is This is management that cares. This is management that is going to listen. And when you submit a work order, it gets fixed. Now it makes a little bit more sense to go like, okay, also rent is going up. It's like, well, at least there's an increase in service.
Okay.
That's generally and I found that it really does help move outs. People get spooked if you new owner, I'm paying somewhere else. Rent's going up. This is a lot. I'm overwhelmed. I'm out. I'm going to move somewhere else. We're just trying to stagger it a little bit. 30 to 60 days, you can start doing the rent bumps. It's 8 units. This isn't that much work.
So it's about two maintenance requests essentially.
Yeah, I give them two requests. What I've always found is when I do the first wave of request, they realize, oh my gosh, the new management actually responds, and I get a second wave automatically of people go like, "Hey, I saw you out there. I need to get this and this and this fixed." Then all of a sudden, you realize, oh, there's 2 more toilet seats, one more oven, and one more microwave. Okay, well, get those done too. And then once you've established, I ask for work orders, you send them, and they all get addressed, your odds of keeping the tenants go a lot higher if you want to keep the tenants that you have. I have a couple of buildings where I'm like, I can't wait to not rent to these people because I wouldn't want to live next to these people. So also depends
Okay.
on the strategy. If your goal is to get rid of them, rent bump them aggressively as fast as you possibly can.
Okay. No, that makes perfect sense. And another question that I have was, well, I guess it's like two questions in a way, if
Okay.
that's fine. So right now it doesn't, so we have a washer and dryer hookup ready to go, but the current landlord doesn't provide any of the appliances. Only for the dryer and washer. They have like dishwasher in place in the fridge and the stove, but typically the tenant would have to provide their own washer and dryer. I'm thinking for like the unit that's, month to month, that's I'm gonna turn them over. I'm gonna do renovation right away because one unit is actually coming to end of this month will be vacant. And so I'm gonna turn that unit quickly. And I don't know if I'm thinking to add the appliances myself, like the washer and dryer, and then bump the rent up even more. But what is your thoughts about doing that?
Oh, this is a excellent question. So I filmed a bunch of videos on this yesterday at my property. I'm very passionate about this answer. So
Okay.
everyone listen up to this. I have learned this the hard way. Every landlord I know who has done this for a while believes the same thing. If you provide an in-unit washer and dryer that you own, they will always overload it and they will put way too much detergent in it and you will have work orders all the time. If they provide their own, magically they learn how to take care of it. What I have done at most of my campuses is if there is room for it, and it's not going to be at every eightplex, if there is a way to do a coin-op laundry machine, if there's a laundry room that you can add to a property, have it serviced by a third party, huge amenity, awesome. A lot of my properties have in-unit hookups, and I have a coin-op laundry there. I will have a company service the coin-op. They can choose to put an in-unit washer and dryer. That way, it is an option for them. Every time I have provided washers and dryers, and most landlords have experienced the same thing. When you provide the in unit on anything less than Class A real estate, they just get trashed, and you have to replace them all the time. If it's a really nice area and a really nice building, you can sometimes look at it. But if you're not competing against, like Caleb lives in a skyscraper in Dallas. He made it. Good for him. He's a fancy, and it and it doesn't even cost that much. Dallas is just inexpensive. He has a beautiful place. You better bet that in-unit laundry is a good amenity to have there. But in an eightplex built in the 90s, I would try not to own the laundry machines if you can.
Okay.
Offering the hookups is an excellent amenity.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. And then lastly is how do I not over improve? I know you talked about this many times, and it's like what
I
I
feel like I just filmed all the best content. This is the all film day. I went through what to do in laundry rooms and how not to over improve. You're reading my mind. I just literally wrote this. So not over improving. Look at the listings of the properties around you on apartments.com. If you want to be really good about it, you can even secret shop the other unit. So I'll actually call their PMs and I'll figure out what they have available and what amenities. So I'll try to get other people to sell me on their property.
okay.
It is being better. It's kind of like the old adage of like I don't have to outrun the bear, I just have to outrun you. Um, at the same price point, can I offer a better product? And so so it's usually something subtle. If there's old windows on every other 1990s building,
Yes.
and everyone has laminate countertops, everyone has LVP floors, everyone has a
Yep.
decent paint color. If I am the one rental that has brand new windows and everything else is the same, I have a nicer unit. And if I can charge the same rent for that, why would you leave my unit for a worse unit? You'll never do it. So that's the benchmark. And what I found is it's so easy, especially when you're new. So it's on your first few deals. It's really easy to want to over improve a property because
Yeah.
you see it and all you see is potential. And it's super exciting. Like, I'm going to be the best landlord ever. My tenants are going to love me.
Yeah.
How do I know this? The 38 unit that I use as an example all the time. If you guys have ever been to any of my webinars before you signed up, you've probably seen me use this example a billion times. The first 5 units that we did there, we did these beautiful granite countertops,
Yep.
and rent went up exactly $0. None of the tenants in that building, which was class C minus at the time, care at all if I had a wood plank as a counter or a beautiful piece of stone. And so I paid for a beautiful piece of stone. My return on investment to myself and my investors was nothing. Um, it's not worth it. However, had I come in and done LVP floors and just didn't even replace the cabinet, if I just painted them a beautiful color, put on some handles that looked better, there is nothing else within a 2-mile radius at that price point that is nicer, and everyone would have rented there and been just as happy. Your tenants don't appreciate it more to have a beautiful building. There's one other person who doesn't care. Your appraiser doesn't come into the building and be like, "Oh, stone, wonderful." They're gonna look at your rent and the comped properties. So your goal is only and solely to be better than the units around you, and if you can do that at the same price point, you will have less vacancy, and that is your biggest expense that you're gonna fight in any building. So that is the mission, and it will depend on your market, but it's very easy to research.
Thank you.
Yes.
And what is the AC central heating versus like the window unit? Does that affect the rent by a lot? Because I have window units and doing
Not a lot. It will
conversion.
positively affect it, and your utility cost will drop if you do like mini splits take a lot less power. They're really efficient at heating and cooling. Window units will lower rent, but it's not going to be astronomical. Like that's not going to be the make or break point for a deal. It's one where the deal like it's cash flowing really well. Maybe in the future you do a cash out refi, there's extra money in the account, and you're like, you know, it would be really cool. Let's lower our expenses and let's push the value even more.
Okay.
We talk about the 4 phases of real estate. You
Yes.
have your buy phase, your stabilize phase, which is what you're going into is you're stabilizing the rents and doing your increases. You have your so you have buy, stabilize, optimize, which is number 3, and that's where you might say, hey, before we do a refinance or before I pay off the debt on this, if you want to own it free and clear, it's different strategies. I tend to go that way on my properties, is I'll eventually pay them off. I'll optimize them first, and that would be an optimize phase. I would come back in and do mini splits, and I'd come back in, and maybe that's the point where, hey, the market's improved in this area a little bit. This property is doing about as good as it can. Maybe I will come back in and replace my bathroom vanities, and I will do those stone countertops in a future session. But right now, you're in stabilize. Window units are going to be just fine for where you're at on that project.
Okay.
Once you're done with phase 1, you can look at it and say, hey, is the best use of my time and money to go to the next level on this property, or is it to just buy another project? And that'll be a determination at that point. But you're not there right now. Keep the window units for right now. I think you'd be over improving if you swapped them out this early.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great questions, by the way. You're only asking me the questions that I love talking about. And I know we have a small wave of newer people on today's call. So great to see all of you. But you're asking me the stuff from like, I wish I could just say these to everyone every time they buy a property. So thank you for great questions.
Thank you.
Mark, you're back on deck.
Thanks again. So some of the places I'm looking at are in opportunity zones. Are they more trouble than they're worth, or they're worth it for the 10-year capital gain free benefit if I hold it 10 years?
The opportunity zones rarely have any value unless you're doing massive improvement. there's X amount that you have to spend in redevelopment of the property. So if you are buying a, by the way, for those who are new, I'm allowed one swear word per call. That is just in the unspoken rules, but we never violate it. You are allowed to buy a absolute shitbox somewhere and just deck it out. That's you. I forget what the percentage is of the basis, but it's very significant. You have to spend a large amount of money compared to what you bought it for, reinvested into the property. So OZ zones are, and someone can type this into chat GPT while I'm talking and get the exact numbers. But the general rule is if you're a developer, opportunity zones are awesome. If you're just an investor and you're just doing an improvement on an existing building without changing its use, you usually don't really have any benefit from the opportunity zone. They're better than not having one in the way that as an opportunity zone, maybe some developer will pay you more for the property later. Like it's a boon, but I don't put any financial value on an OZ zone unless I'm doing heavy reno. You might look at, 'cause I know you're basically 50 unit deal, your 49 that you're looking at does have very significant reno and potentially a repurposing of a retail space. A building like that, if it's in an opportunity zone, might be where you go, okay, let's research what the basis is and investment requirement is to see if I can take advantage of the OZ zone. But
I don't know who's.
specifically if you're doing significant reno.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Funny, you and I had talked offline about Grant Cardone too. Funny enough, Grant talks about the overratedness of OZ zones all the time too. I just heard him launch a video on that. They're really cool. They're really cool for exactly the right use case. Sky,
Hey, Christian, marvelous Monday to you.
thank you.
Yes, I am also relatively new, about a month in, and I found a property I like. And the owner, he's actually, we're gonna setting up to meet with him and to look at the property.
Mhm.
And it does cash flow get day one, and I would love to look at it tomorrow on the deal deep dive just to go over the numbers with you on that.
Ooh, very exciting.
But my question is, when you, other than the standard things that you typically look for, when you look at the properties, what other things stand out to you, or do you make sure that you address, or hey, I want to look at this, this, and this when I get in person first time looking at the property? It's a 52 unit. It's in the Kentucky area near the border, Tennessee, Kentucky, that range, and it does cash flow day one, brings in about 4,000 roughly, without as current numbers as if. So I just wanted to know what things do you go after when you get boots on the ground?
So the first thing that I look for, and I will always be honest, my wife is way better at the details than me, so Danny is a better one to ask this question to. But she's hanging out with Matt and my kid downstairs. When I go to a property, these are the things that I've learned to look for. If they say that it's fully occupied or near fully occupied, I do take note of how many cars are actually there, especially if I'm going like early in the morning for the inspection. I have had a building where someone said it's 99% occupied or like 98% occupied. And there were like, this is in Waco. This is for like a big deal. I went under contract for almost 200 units and we bought none of them. And this is why. There were cars in maybe 15% of the spots, but there was one spot per unit. I went on a Saturday morning at 8 a.m. I do not believe that none of these people right off the freeway, none of them have cars, and all of them are out at 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't believe that. So right there, very helpful. I'm also look at the condition of cars there. Not that it's everything, but you do kind of get a feel for the tenant mix. If there's a bunch of junked cars or there's cars that are obviously like 40 years old in a bad way, it will tell you something about the tenant mix there and the economics of the property. As far as the actual building, the things I'm most scared of are major roof issues. Just because it's expensive, it's not, they're easy to fix. Like a roof just has to go into your budget, but you don't want to not know there's a roof problem. So I want to see what I can see for the roof. I'm also looking for any cracks around the foundation because foundation is a deal breaker for me. The variable cost of foundation is like, it could be $20,000. It could be $400,000 to fix this. I don't know. if there's a major foundation or significant foundation problem, for me, I'm just not the buyer for the deal. I don't want to work on it. That's a big one for me. So I'm looking for those things. Is the building looking level? Does it look like there's going to be foundation issues? So look up and down is the short answer there. I do the same thing inside units. That is what investors forget to do. Um, I look up. If they've smoked, you usually have dark spots on the ceiling. You can also smell it, which helps, but I don't have a sense of smell. So for Christian, I have to visually figure out if they smoked and then ask someone if the unit smells terrible. Looking down at the trim boards, if they are chewed up and gross, it's just the quick stuff that tells me, hey, I'm gonna find other stuff in this unit. If the trim boards are all chewed up, I'm probably gonna find mold somewhere in the building because people aren't taking good care of the units. That's the big stuff. Up and down, I want to look at a few of the panels. I want to know what electricity is going in there. And I want to look under a few sinks and anywhere I can see plumbing. And what I'm looking for is galvanized steel pipes. They are past their usable life when we used to use them. If you find them and they're in working condition, they're about to fail. Period. They are about to fail. If you cut them open, they're this much hole going through the pipe because it's all corroded. What happens, the science behind this, called galvanic corrosion. If you have multiple types of metal in your water system, which you do, because there's going to be stuff that's steel, there's going to be copper somewhere, there's going to be iron somewhere. They all carry a different ionic charge. They all corrode each other. Dissimilar metals mess up everything. It's from the water heater all the way through the line. Too many different types of metals touching, it will at some point kill every single galvanized steel pipe. So if you see it, it's about to fail, you want to replace it to PEX, which I'm sure we're going to have research in 10 years that say the microplastics are killing us. But for the time being, PEX pipes will outlive every single one of us. And they're super cheap and easy to replace. That's what I want to see in buildings. But I wanted to know what I have in the building. Copper is not worth replacing. It lasts really long. It doesn't corrode very much. Replace it with PEX when you need to. Copper piping, totally fine. Galvanized steel, it sucks. It's horrible. It never should have been used. It's going to be very expensive to replace. Doesn't kill your deal, but I am going to do the budget up front. I'm going to close the building with enough in budget to replace all of the plumbing and bring it to PEX. Those are the big things I'm looking for. Just plumbing, electric, roofs, foundation, anything I can tell about my tenant mix. Those are the main things I'm looking for. Like if I'm just doing the walkthrough, if you ask Danny, she's going to notice 45 other things. But for me, that's the things that Christian will notice on a high and mid level where I know most of what will happen with the property.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see a 52 unit deal. What's the purchase price, if you don't mind me asking?
3.3 as is right now, but I think I can get it down to at least 2.8-ish negotiations.
Okay, for that area, the
Yes.
napkin math, the not even back of the hand, the back of the paper plate math. That's a good price for that many units. I'm very excited to see what this deal looks like. I'm very excited, Sky.
Thank you.
Yes, you should buy that. I'm just kidding. We haven't underwrote it yet. We will determine on tomorrow's call if you should buy that, but I like the sound of it. Steven.
Hey, Christian, how you doing today?
I am having a fantastic day. For having virtually no sleep, I am having just the best of Mondays.
And I know you're around Stevensville. You guys got canoes out ready to go, or
Dude, I will post I won't. The people who post my stuff will post this in the time that they take to edit it. I was in Stephenville yesterday with Matt, showing him the property we own together. It was insane. My bridge I don't know how many of you have seen my 25 unit there, but I have, there's 8 units on one side. There's a river that's about this deep. So it's I believe it's actually called a crick. That goes through the campus with a little bridge over it. The bridge is, best guess, 7 feet high, completely underwater. The entire valley between the two things was full. We had roads shut down completely. It was wild flooding. No property damage. Great time to be at a property because I can see exactly how everything flows with maximum water. Drainage is great at every property. I'm going to regrade the outside of one building, but dude, it was unbelievable driving there and being like, I cannot see 12 inches in front of me.
Wow.
It was crazy water.
Well, we're glad you're okay.
It was so fun. I've never been so wet in my life, but it was so much fun.
Okay. So here's my question, and just a quick topic on the PECs. There's two different types of PECs. One's good, one's bad, and I can't think of the name of the one that the manufacturer that's bad, but they actually get pinholes inside the PEX pipe. So there's two manufacturers. If you're doing PEX piping, make sure you do your research on that, guys.
This
So
goes
here's
into the
my
things that
question.
Christian was unaware of and is now going to immediately research after this call.
Yeah, so here's my question. I've been working on a couple of deals that I think I got a pretty good rapport with the broker. Everybody's talking to me, everybody's friendly and everything. I've been asking for financials for the last week and a half, and I'm not getting anything. Everybody said, like I made my calls this morning. I'm saying, hey, are you guys going to be able to? Yeah, we'll get those out to you right now. Is there any way I can beat them over the head to actually get anything, or what's your suggestion on trying to motivate these people?
My answer for this has evolved over the years. What I used to do is I would call them all the time, and I would just keep politely asking. What I've ended up doing is I partnered with Caleb Hommel, who will call them 15 times in an hour. And he will get everyone doing anything. Caleb is extremely intense, and I'm not patient. Caleb is the least patient person I've ever met. Um, when Danny and I feel like, oh my gosh, we're not getting our answer, I sick Caleb on them and he gets it for us. That has been my answer. If you don't have a Caleb, what I have learned working with him, there is not there is no such thing as asking too much if you need something for your property. I mean, at some point you probably piss people off, but I'm always polite. It is okay to be a little bit pushy for like, hey, I am ready to rock on this. Let's go. I have had one investor ever back out on a deal where I was like, I need a decision. And if it's not you, I'd rather raise it from someone else. Totally fine either way, but I want to know where the money's coming from. I've only had one person back out because I pushed ever on anything. Being pushy is fine. Just don't be rude about it. Always be very polite. And I always open with some sentence that is not asking for something. I always go like, hey, I am so excited to take a look at this. I haven't seen anything yet. I just did this with a contractor today. I was like, hey, super excited for the quote. You had mentioned to be there on Saturday, and then on Saturday you mentioned it'll be here on Monday. I'm making sure I didn't miss an email from you. We are very excited to get started. But I will bug them every single day. And then she got back
Okay.
to me. She's like, we decided we want to change the colors of stuff. I have an idea. I want to pitch you on it. I'm like, assume it's approved. Pitch me the quote now. I'm ready to go. I don't care if it's gray, white, black, or some sort of color of blue. I need it done, and I can't lease a unit regardless of what color it is if it's not done. So
So you would go with phone calls, constant phone calls, and not leave. Well, if they don't pick up the phone,
I
leave
I
a
like I like texting better than a phone call to get stuff done. Phone calls can be annoying. It's really hard for a text to be super annoying. It's convenient for someone to ignore the text. It's not convenient for them to ignore two texts. And at some point they usually get back to you. So I stay in their ear, but I usually don't blow people up with phone calls. Unless it's a
so
lawyer, in which case I pay them enough to pick up the phone. I will blow them up as much as I want. That is
so
my
about
personal
one text an hour should do it.
one text an hour should do it if they're that delinquent. I usually do one text every 3 or so hours, but if I need something, I'll text them as much as I can.
Well, the crazy part is it's one of the deals is that one that's been on the market for 1,200 days.
I
It's
wonder
like,
why it's on market for 1,200
I
days.
know, it's like crazy. Anyhow, all right, thank you for that, sir. I'm glad you're
Absolutely.
safe, and so I'm glad the family's safe too.
Oh,
Enjoy.
yeah, no, that was very fun. Highly recommend if you have a storm, going out to your property is. It was an adventure.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. By the way, guys, this goes into the category of buyers are liars, sellers are worse, and brokers are worser. Most brokers, I know some of you guys are agents, and all of you are awesome agents. For those who are not, brokers suck. This is from being a real estate agent for 2 years and working for a brokerage for a year before that, and then selling data to brokers for the prior 4 years before that. And by the way, before that, I sold ad space to farm and ranch brokers. I've spent my entire career working with brokers. Almost all of them are terrible. If you find a good one, hold on to them like crazy. The requirements to be a broker are fairly low. South Park did a hilarious episode on this. It's the only episode of South Park I've seen in my life, but it is so representative of most agents do nothing. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of agents who don't do anything. There are a few very good ones out there. If you're a very good agent, you make a ton of money. If you are a bad agent, you don't make much. You see a lot of stuff like this. It's been on market for 1,200 days. Oh, I'll get you information. They never get anyone information. That's why it doesn't sell. All right. Take a look at the clock. Going 10 minutes over. By the way, for those who are new, very common for me to go 2 hours. I get in trouble every time with my wife. We're gonna go 10 minutes over today. We started the call 5 minutes in. I'm gonna try to get to the existing four hands here. So we'll end on Ardell. I go Ben, Garrison, Mark, Ardell. Ben's, you're up again.
All right, mine would be like 1 minute, 2 minutes max.
Perfect. That keeps us on schedule.
So just wanted to ask you if I could just show you a picture of the bathroom quickly.
Yes, you may.
And then I'm just wanted to hear your thoughts if this is like the current bathroom, and then there is like one. Can you see the screen?
Yep.
Like, does this needs to be renovated in terms of like the yellowness of like the, I don't even know what's it called, like the shower? Um, this is like the most renovated unit
Okay.
I have, but they all are pretty similar.
I do prefer white. It does look much sharper. No
Okay.
one, I'm not aware of anyone for entry level housing who's like, wow, that shower is too yellow. I don't like it. It's just the color of it. It's not like it dyed yellow. It's not stained. It's a yellow shower. It's what it is.
Okay.
I'm not seeing anything there that would merit a swap of
Okay.
anything. Is it? Go back to that really, really, really quick for me. Super quick. Is the whole thing one piece?
Yes, the whole thing's one piece.
That's interesting. Usually you have like a surround and then you have the tub. I'm wondering if there's a normal tub under it and this whole thing is an insert. Either way, I would not bother replacing this. If there's a problem with it, you would replace it, and then I replace everything for entry level with the ceramic, or I guess it's fiberglass, whatever it is, the plasticky surrounds. I love them. Do them white. If they get messed up, it's not that hard to replace them.
Okay.
They look clean. They look easy. They have built-in shelving, and your tenants won't destroy the grout because you don't have tile.
Yep.
This is just fine. I'm seeing nothing in here on the type of real estate it is where you would need to replace it.
Okay.
I mean, if you're being nitpicky, I personally hate the like silver appliances and gold doorknobs. I like everything to be uniform. But other than that,
Yeah.
I maybe swap your doorknob color. You're nothing to do here really.
I'll talk to you more about this deal in detail for just the renovation stuff, and I'll pick your brains more on that. And
Perfect.
I don't
Perfect.
want
But not seeing anything there that I would renovate in a stabilization phase of a property.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Garrison.
Hey, Christian.
Hey.
Few questions. First, have you been getting my texts about the 37 unit? I haven't gotten a response.
I don't think I have any unanswered title. Let me check, Garrison. I have been on it with my texts.
Wondering if I have the wrong phone number.
I have the same issue.
Garrison 37. Garrison, I did miss the text from you on Saturday. I have
Okay.
it. I will answer that. I apologize.
No worries. Yeah, I was trying
No,
to.
but you are doing the right thing, and I am not getting back to you. And I try to keep everything within a 24-hour cycle. To verify for everyone, you guys are always welcome to text me. My number is the Zoom code, so it's the 425-336-9332. It is not uncommon for people to get one of my business phones mixed up with my personal phone, which I will have a much harder time getting to. So if it's any number that doesn't start with 425, text the 425 number. Garrison, I will check that tonight immediately after
Cool.
dinner. I
Yep,
apologize.
no problem.
You
And
are right.
then
I have failed.
that's fine. Question about rent bumps based on the conversation earlier. So that 37 unit, and we can talk more about it in detail when you have time. But
Perfect.
some of the rents are like, you know, $550 and they should be $1150.
Ooh,
So they're
juicy.
way off, right?
Mhm.
So the tactic there, like you said earlier, bumping any more than $200 is kind of pushing it. But you know, going 550 to 750 to 950 to that's going to take me 4 years, right?
No, this one you're going to need to get those tenants out. Unfortunately, the tenants that rent at 550 in apartments that are for 1150, I've never had great tenants at that price.
Yeah.
In the building, it's almost always to turn around the building. No one will want to live next to those tenants. They're the ones who they're loud, they're smoke, they have pit bulls, they bring friends over to the apartments, and magically a month after you buy it, drug deals start happening. I don't want to just stereotype everyone, but every time I've had a property that's egregiously low rent, drugs. Every time.
Yep.
So I would not worry about trying to keep all the tenants in the building. I would basically rent bump to a point where, like, yep, this deal looks baller at this price, knowing that a lot of them will leave and the ones who should stay probably will. And you will be turning the units and getting the property where it needs to be, because a 4-year turn for a building is way too long.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly. Okay, sounds good.
Yep, get aggressive with it, and that is the thing where all of your tenants will hate you, and it's a bummer, but you are doing the right thing every time for the community and for the building. Is get some money into that building, get it where it needs to be, and build a beautiful community. And it is the right thing to do. It also, you can feel a little bit. It's the only part about being a landlord that I don't personally enjoy. I hate being like, we're gonna move these same people somewhere else, but you're gonna avoid mean dogs and literally the 26 unit. I took too long to do the rent bumps, and someone bought a pit bull that's not allowed, and another one of the tenants got attacked. The tenant who got attacked got hooked on their painkillers and then started selling drugs. It's like literally, it's like you can't write this shit. Oh no, I said it twice. I'm not allowed to do that. Broke the rules. You can't write this stuff. It's so ridiculous. Get through the rent bug, fix the thing. I would not try to go from 550 on a 4-year thing. That one is this project is ripping the band-aid off. Make sure that your investors in the deal, if you should have any, are aware that this project is we are ripping off the band-aid and we are cooking, and we are cooking with gas, because there's a little bit different gut check for occupancy is going to drop before it gets better. Just make sure everyone's on board with the project for what you do there.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Perfect. I know that took a little bit longer. That was worth answering all the way. Mark.
Thank you again. So going back to another question earlier, the 3 to 5 cap rate markets at San Diego, other than looking for giant rent bumps when you can find them, what else do you do?
So in San Diego, what you are often doing is very similar to what I did in Seattle. It's also I'm looking at a deal in Dallas, which is not a 3 cap, but like it's downtown Dallas. It's like a 4 cap area of Dallas. So low cap, nice deals. What you're typically looking for on those is you're looking for terms. So on the deals that I've done in 3 cap markets or 4 cap markets, the deals I did, I borrowed at 2 or 3% interest. It's not that common. They are harder to find, and when you find them, they're awesome because you appreciate like crazy in those low markets. If you happen to have some rental upside, just everyone for the quick math, If you do a $100 rent increase on a unit in a 6-cap market, you make $20,000. 100 times 12 months a year, 1,200 in new income. Your expenses don't go up, so you've added 1,200 to your net operating income. If you guys just joined the course and you're like, wow, there's a lot of math really fast, you will catch on so freaking fast in the math section, and we'll go over this a bunch. 6.5 cap, you divide your new 1,200 by 0.06, you make $20,000. In a 3-cap market, you do a $100 rent bump. You divide that same number by 0.03, which means you make $40,000 for every rent bump. You make twice as much money in a lower cap market by being a better operator. So what I like to look for in like a San Diego or a Seattle or a Portland, Oregon, I can't even imagine Portland, Oregon. I'm sorry, Portland's crazy. Sorry, Oregonians. But if you're in these really competitive markets, you're looking for a deal that has some upside where you can be a better manager, and you're usually solving some problem. It doesn't mean you're buying a totally beat up property, but it's something that is a little under market rent and there's some struggle you're solving for the landlord. They're going to carry a contract, you're going to get in low interest, you're going to get crazy high appreciation by being a better manager. That's the type of play that's only available in a low cap market. You do those deals in like the middle of nowhere, Ohio. Ohio gets plenty of cash flow. You don't need to do the heavy value add, because when you increase rents in your 12 cap market, your value hardly goes up. You're going to buy straight cash flow in those markets. You're able to play the appreciation game in San Diego in a way that doesn't work in many other markets in the country. So it is unique. It's a little harder to find, but when you find them, you make a ton of money in San Diego. That's usually what it looks like.
Just don't plan to go after something where you're doing 50% equity and bank financing on the rest. It's going to be something more creative where the seller
They're
has
going
a
to get more
limited
creative.
buyer base.
Yeah, they're going
I
to get
guess.
more creative, or you're going to just find a stellar deal where you're going to find something where you're buying it at a 5 cap and a 3 cap market.
Okay.
And then the bank's going to lend on that all day long.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Ardell.
All right. Guess it's my turn.
Yes, it is.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, it can.
All right. Okay, so my question stems around the done is better than perfect. Okay.
Yes.
This is related to the Kentucky deal that I'm trying to deal with, and they want 500K, but I've already given the laundry list of what I'm comfortable in offering, and they still want 500, but they said create a package that fits what my needs, but still gets them their number. At what point do you go, yeah, no, get it done, or don't compromise your principles?
Yeah.
That's kind of
so on this one, and usually when I say done is better than perfect, it means like, I'm usually using that for like, hey, we have a specific way we want to renovate this. We can get this thing done on market, get someone great in there. It doesn't have to be perfect. It does have to be completed. Applying done is better to perfect to this particular scenario. I think that there's never room to flex on the principles, because I need to buy for cash flow and long-term fixed rate debt. So the higher the price goes, the better terms I need. And the higher the price goes, the longer I need those terms to be. Because if I am overpaying for the property, I need to know that the property will be worth more when the debt expires. That is the main thing. So the give and take is I need cash flow day one. I will buy it at your price if I have long enough debt where it cash flows. If I get paid enough money to hold it and wait for it to appreciate. So general rule of thumb, if they were like, oh yeah, we'll carry a contract for 3 years, and this is an example, but if they're like, yeah, we'll carry a contract for 3 years at 5% interest, then deal cash flow is fine there, but they want $50,000 more than you want to pay, I need to know it's going up more than $50,000. I'm going to be looking for like 10-year debt, where I'd be like, okay, cool, I will overpay for it if I'm going to get paid for 10 years to hold this and wait for it to appreciate. That works. But that's the main thing that you're looking. The more you pay, the longer the term you're paying for is pretty much it. So if they're stuck on their number, you need long-term debt. The only reason, and I've shared this many times, the worst deal that I've done for my business was the Robin Hood Village Resort, because I structured the debt in a way that did not make sense for the partnership that I had. The reason that that deal did not absolutely wipe me out is because I got 4.5%. Because I overpaid for the resort, is what I learned after. I didn't think I overpaid as much as I did. I was wrong because I didn't know how hospitality works, and I thought I did. It was worth 3.5. I paid 4.5. I did $1 million overpay. That's ludicrous. I got 8 years of debt at 4.5% interest. It cash flows, and I have enough time to where I was able to get the NOI up to where it's worth about what I paid for it. I have 5 more years on the debt. I can keep performing and outperform. I survived because I did long-term debt at low interest. Do not overpay by $1 million for a resort. That is what you would do if you were stupid, which I was. That being said, you are able to survive a lot of stuff on long-term fixed rate debt, and if you're getting paid to do it, that gives you a lot of wiggle room. That's the main thing, though. The cash flow and the terms that you negotiate have to be longer.
Okay.
And it's fine to say no to a deal. It's fine to say no to a deal. If they want something that doesn't work, you have to win on either price or terms. If you win on either of them, it's not a deal until you say no.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Mark, I'll give you one more question, even though I just got the text from Danny saying you're 10 minutes over what you told me.
All right. Well, that's because I forgot to put my hand down, but thank you for that. I can ask you another question. What system do you like, AppFolio, or what do you use for a Section 8 property? What works well for electronic rent collection?
I use AppFolio.
Okay.
AppFolio will require, unless they've changed their policy in the last 2 years, they will require that you manage 50 units or more before opening an account with them. My next favorite is Buildium. Buildium is super user-friendly. It's very easy to port into AppFolio later.
Okay.
And it's much less expensive. So starting a portfolio, if you're self-managing, Buildium is my favorite. There's a bunch you can use. Buildium is by far my favorite. I will say this is an endorsement because I used them when I started my PM company in Texas. Their customer support is phenomenal. They will walk you through every single detail of how do I account for this? What do most people do for their books? How do I get this bank account to roll into this bank account? They'll help you with everything for your first 6 months. They're very helpful. So Buildium when you're starting. Once you're over 50 units, AppFolio. If you buy a 49 unit, you'll probably convince AppFolio to work with you.
I've got other stuff I manage for other people that I could throw in there, so
there
I got
we go.
that covered.
But
So
AppFolio
then,
is amazing. It is unbelievable software. It's not as user friendly, but it does everything that you could ever imagine software doing for PM. It does everything. So once you know how to use it, that is industry standard. That is the best software out there, period.
And then on the one you're looking at for me, how many times you go back to the broker to fix the T12 when you keep seeing crap? Does the bank need a perfect T12? Are they flexible?
Bank will need to get relatively close to perfect.
Okay.
So you'll keep going back and forth until you get it right, but you can go under contract with it close to right. You can go in knowing, hey, there's some sharpening up we need to do, as long as everyone's aware, like, hey, we're going to be working on this as part of the transaction.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, guys, I'm going to leave before I get in trouble. Tomorrow, I no restrictions at all. So we'll go through all the deals as long as we have to go within reason. But super excited for that. I know we have a few good ones that we're looking at. So very, very excited. For those who are brand new, Deal Deep Dive Day, bring your deals. We're going to look at the property. We're going to talk about how you would like to structure it. And we're going to look at the options from beginning to end on how to do it. So bring your deals. We'll look at them live, and I'll see you guys on tomorrow's call.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christian.
Absolutely.
Thank you.